Well, hello everyone. I'm Shaurya. If this is the first time you've come across this channel, I secured all the rank 39 in CLAT 2025, and now I'm sharing my journey. I'm sharing all the things I did and all the things I didn't do that helped me considerably in my journey in pursuing CLAT, and hopefully they'll help you as well if you're a 26 aspirant or even for that matter a 27 aspirant watching this video. Uh, this video is the start of a series of videos I'll make where I'll delve into the nitty-gritty details of everything of what is CLAT, how you can prepare for CLAT, what are the individual sections of CLAT, what should be the strategy you pursue for CLAT overall and as well as for each individual section, uh, and other general important details you need to know if you want to pursue law. This video specifically is going to be a very preliminary introduction to CLAT. So this video is more for somebody who is, let's say you're in 10th grade right now, you want to pursue law, but you don't know what the law is, you don't know what CLAT is, you don't know how you can pursue law. This video is for you. Or if you're a parent watching this and you have a child who is interested in the workings of the legal system, who loves to read, then for them as well, this video would be very helpful. So let's just get started. In this video, I'll discuss what is CLAT, what is CLAT for, who is CLAT for, and how can I prepare for CLAT from this very moment. Let's start. The first question, what is CLAT? CLAT stands for the Common Law Admission Test. It is conducted by the Consortium of National Law Universities. Uh, the NLUs are the premier institution of legal education in India, and all except for two NLUs, which is NLU Delhi and NLU Meghalaya, conduct the CLAT, and they are part of the consortium of NLUs. And CLAT is a common exam that is taken for admission into the 5-year law programs of all of these national universities, plus a lot of private colleges also accept CLAT scores. Even some government colleges accept CLAT scores, if I'm not wrong. And what is a 5-year law course? 5-year law is, see, in India, to pursue law, you need to first already have a bachelor's in another field. That can be bachelor's in arts, it can be bachelor's in commerce, or bachelor's in science, or whatever. And you can only be eligible for an LLB or a bachelor's in law after you already have a bachelor's in arts or another thing. And therefore, a 5-year law program gives you another bachelor. That could be a bachelor's in arts, a bachelor's in business administration, bachelor's in science, or even other anything really. And as well as that, it also in the same university, in the same program, teaches you all the subjects of LLB as well. And so once you graduate not just with an LLB but also the bachelor's that is required before it. And therefore this is more streamlined than having to pursue a bachelor's separately, then giving another entrance exam, and then pursuing a 3-year law. There are 3-year law courses available as well, but people prefer CLAT because it is again more streamlined and it's just easier. You don't have to give 2 entrance exams, just one that is CLAT, and then you're set for the entire 5 years. So that is what is CLAT, and as well what is CLAT for. Who is CLAT for? If you're somebody who loves to read, because law is almost entirely about reading. If you're somebody who loves to read, or you're fascinated by the working of the legal system, or you're empathetic to the plight of the people, and you want to do things for them, you want to be the change, law is for you because you get the chance to change the lives of a lot of people individually, one on one. Especially if you're a defense lawyer, uh, you will see a lot of really horrible things. But it is those very things that will motivate you further to change the world just a little bit more, just a little that you can do yourself. But even aside from all of this, in more pragmatic terms, if you're a student who is disillusioned by the engineering and medical scene, the engineering medical education scene in India specifically, uh, by the toxicity surrounding it, uh, then law is also a really good option for you, because law offers you, at least if you get a good college, some really lucrative job opportunities, while not having all of that external pressure. Not really all of that, Trust me, CLAT aspirants are also very stressed, but it doesn't have as much as, you know, all the toxicity. I think it all comes under the word toxicity that is surrounding engineering and medicine in India at this moment. And therefore, if you're tired of all that toxicity, but you still want to have a decent career, not just a career, decent career, a very good career even, then law is for you. So if you're one of those people, uh, then how can you begin to prepare for law? Well, there's two sections to this. If you're a school going student and if you're a dropper. If you're a dropper, I'll talk about that after this section. I'll post the timestamp somewhere in the editing part of the video. Uh, but if you're a school going student, you can first, you have to understand that you're not necessarily at a disadvantage just because you're a school going student. You're not necessarily at a disadvantage just because you don't have as much time on your hands as a dropper does. You don't necessarily have that much of a disadvantage that you can't focus on CLAT, because most people who give CLAT are school students. I am a school student. I'm about to give my board exams from the 11th of March this year. So I am a school student as well. I was able to clear CLAT. Most aspirants who have cleared CLAT are school students. And so if all of us can do it, you can as well. And once you understand that you have that power, it becomes almost self-explanatory that what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Just say, if you have to focus more on school, if you have exams coming up, if you have project files, then I mean it's fairly obvious you need to prepare for school far more than CLAT at that particular point in time. But once all of that is done, yes, your focus should shift to CLAT. I was able to take leave from the month of November from my school to prepare for CLAT, because CLAT is taken in December every year, the first Sunday of December. And if you can get that, then that'll help you considerably. But that will only come, around November. I'll talk about all this once your exams draw closer. For now, all you need to know is you can still succeed in CLAT even while you're in school. And for the first few months, you shouldn't prioritize CLAT as much as schooling, because at that point you're building all the basics of that grade in school, of 12th grade in school, that if you have them strong earlier on, you won't have to revise them constantly for the entire school year. And therefore, afterwards, you can focus on CLAT while you still remember everything you studied for school in the very beginning. So, right now, focus more on school, but there is one thing that you have to do from the very beginning of your preparation. That is, even from this very moment, what you should do is, देखो, one of the worst traps that CLAT aspirants fall into is there's this thing called a backlog. What is a backlog? A backlog is, CLAT has 5 sections: current affairs, English, logical reasoning, legal reasoning, and mathematics. I'll get into the actual details of the sections in the individual videos, but what I want to say here is, for current affairs, you read compendiums. That is a compilation of all the important news events that happened in that particular month. They are released by coaching institutions. You can find them online. You can refer to my previous video as well to see which compendium works best for you. The point is that compendiums come out and they are very long and they are very boring. You have to read 200 pages worth of compendiums every single month to keep up to date with all the happenings of the world. It is very boring, admittedly, but it is something you have to do. You have to read compendiums, because if you don't read them, you have what's called a backlog of all the important things you have missed. And I can't emphasize this enough. Don't let a backlog build. Let that sink in. Don't let a backlog build for current affairs. I'm being very serious when I say that a backlog will ruin your preparation. I know friends who have had their preparation ruined because of a backlog. Get that inside your head, please. And right now, when you're starting out, right now in February, you already have a backlog of 2 months of December and January. In CLAT, current affairs comes from the December of the previous year till November of this actual year of the exam. And so you have to prepare for December and January from now. You already have a backlog and you have to cover that as soon as you can. You understand that? So for a school going student, right now you have to first cover the backlog of current affairs. You have to read the compendiums. You can purchase a compendium and then just read it. It is up to you whether you want to make notes or not. I didn't make notes. I didn't need them. You don't really need notes, really. But if they help you, then sure, you can make them by all means. But if you feel like they're a waste of time for you, then you don't need to make them by any means either. Uh, it's CLAT is a lot about experimenting with what works the best for you. I experimented a lot. Trust me, I have a lot of very wacky tricks I did. I'll talk about them in other videos. But I have a lot of very wacky tricks I developed that helped me a lot to study not harder but study smarter. And you have to develop them on your own as well, because your individual dynamics might be different from my individual dynamics. So the point is, start reading a compendium, experiment, and after you're done with December, read the January compendium. And by the time you're done with January as well, I would have posted, I think, probably all of the videos that I want to post on the series. It takes generally 1 to 2 weeks to complete one compendium. Uh, you don't have to memorize every word of the compendium. You have to learn it enough that you can recognize the right answer among 4 options, because for CLAT, you don't need to recall things. You have to recognize things because it is all entirely MCQ based. And for current affairs, by the time you're done with it, by the time you're done with both those compendiums, I would have posted the other videos I want to post about CLAT. And then you can just refer to them. There's a lot of things I missed in this video regarding like structure of CLAT, the syllabus of CLAT, how many questions are there in CLAT, but I'll talk about all of those things in the individual sectional videos. The only thing I would say is that CLAT has become more a question of accuracy now than it used to be. CLAT started off as a question paper of 200 questions for 120 minutes. So of course, there you have to skip a lot of questions. But now, for the past 2 years, CLAT has been a paper of 120 questions for 120 minutes. So now you have 1 minute per question. That is still fast. You still have to be fast by all means, but now you have to also be worried about your accuracy, because now you don't have as many questions you can just skip. You have to attempt a lot of questions. If the paper comes at a difficult level, then maybe 100 questions. But it comes a really easy paper like last year's or the last year's paper, then you may have to attempt all questions. I attempted 119 questions in CLAT 2025. So the point is that CLAT is a game of accuracy as well as a game of speed. And so you can't just rely on consuming a large quantity of content. You have to be worried about the quality of the content you're consuming as well. So read compendiums, sure, but don't be so worried about current affairs that you're, just focusing entirely on current affairs and you're trying to learn everything that you can. No, that is a very big mistake that a lot of aspirants make, is that they focus on the breadth of current affairs far more than the depth, because the problem that happens then is, because you've studied everything but you've only studied them at the shallow level, you will identify that yes, जो तुम्हें पढ़ा है वो तुम्हें पेपर में आ रहा है, but you'll realize that you're stuck there because you can't recall anything else beyond just कि तुमने पढ़ा था कहीं पे. And that is a really terrible, terrifying feeling to have, knowing कि you know somewhere in the back of your head कि क्या आंसर है, but you can't recall it because तुमने इतना डिटेली नहीं पढ़ा था. Don't let that happen to you. You have to be worried about your accuracy as well. And therefore, when you read your compendiums, make sure that you're studying it focused and attentively. You understand that? Now for the droppers, you have a lot of time on your hands, far more than school-going students do. So for you, I'd say you should, एक तो जो मैंने उनके लिए बोला था that you have to read compendiums, you should do that as well. But aside from that, you also have to start taking mock tests from this very moment. You have to take, I would say for now, you can take one mock test every 2 weeks or something like that. Again, you have to experiment and see what works best for you. But take mock tests because you've already been preparing for a year, at least a year. You know that how the content that comes in CLAT usually is. You know what you should study. You know sort of how you should study that. And so you shouldn't be too worried about the content. You should be worried about your techniques because there is something wrong with your technique most likely. Either you're studying the wrong content or you're studying the right content the wrong way, or you're practicing the right content the wrong way. And the only way to fix that is to firstly identify what you're doing wrong. And the only way to identify that is to do things and then analyze them. So attempt mock tests, regularly attempt them, and sit with them for hours at a time. I mean, I used to analyze mock tests for at least 2 or 3 hours after I attempted them and see in detail every question you attempted, see why you chose that particular option, why you didn't choose any of the other three options, and see that does that make sense in hindsight, given that you now know the right answer. There are a lot of instances where the right answer is actually incorrect according to the solution. You have to also be able to ignore that. But if you feel like, yeah, you made a genuine mistake there, see what you did, uh, analyze it, get it assimilated into your brain, and make sure you don't repeat it again. Because कुछ फायदा नहीं है अगर तुम बस, if you just keep learning your mistakes but you still continue to repeat them, there's no use of that. You're just wasting your time. So read your compendiums, make sure that you do that as well. But also you have to attempt mock tests and sectional tests, and you have to analyze them very, very thoroughly, more thoroughly than even probably the school going students have to do, because for them they have a lack of preparedness in not just the technique but also their content. But for you, you know what to study. It's just that you're doing it in the wrong way, and therefore you have to see what you're doing wrong and then fix that. You understand what I'm saying? So that's all from my side. Uh, if you like this video and found this helpful, you can please consider subscribing to the channel. And if there are any questions that I missed that you wanted me to answer, or any doubts you have about all the tips I gave you, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll reply either in the comments themselves, or if they're serious enough that I think they deserve their own video, I'll make their own video as well separately. And that's all from my side. Bye bye.